It's a good question. I think it will be both. I think.
Hello. Today I'm speaking with Tim Brown, Director of Professional Education at the Georgia Tech Supply Chain and Logistics Institute. Welcome, Tim.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I understand that Georgia Tech is taking a lead role in this project funded by the Department of Labor to develop some professional certifications on a national level.
Right.
Tell us about that.
Sure. I guess a little bit about the background that led to the awarding of the grant and the work. One, supply chains have become more and more complex with global sourcing, leading to longer lead times, greater variability, more difficulty in seeing the visibility of product flows across countries. At the same time, there's problems in the country while employment is growing. The long-term unemployed still remain unemployed, and veterans coming back from deployments are having difficulty acclimating to the business world and getting employed. And finally, industries have found that there's no clear standards in supply chain management training for transportation folks, inventory management folks at an entry level and supervisory level. So given the complexity, the issues with unemployment, and a lack of national standards in supply chain training, CSCMP, Georgia Tech, and Broward College in Florida pulled together a consortium of 9 community colleges and 3 universities to seek the federal grant that you mentioned, and that's kind of the background of it. And now the grant has been awarded. We've got the 9 community colleges, CSCMP, and the 3 universities working together to both create 8 national accreditations in supply chain domains such as inventory management, transportation management, customer service operations, manufacturing operations, plus a curriculum to go hand in hand with those accreditations. The content will be taught primarily through community colleges across the country, and each community college will teach the courses a little bit differently. You know, some community colleges will already have material and already have courses, and they can make slight adjustments based on the curriculum that we're developing. Other schools may not have any supply chain programs at all and may leverage the entirety of the content that were developed and perhaps offer it online or hybrid, a combination of online and in classroom training. So the thought is the students would take a course in one of the domain areas, and it would prepare them for the national certification, which CSCMP would then handle the testing and accreditation process. And then, you know, given that background and comfort level that the students going through these certification programs and courses are competent in a curriculum and national standard, companies can feel confident that, okay, if I hire this individual, he or she's going to know what a warehouse is about. They're going to understand receiving versus put away, pick, pack, and ship. They're going to understand the basics of transportation or inventory management, and therefore, I as a company don't have to spend as much time training them on the basics. I can integrate them into my operation.
Very interesting. Do you anticipate that the majority of the students will be adults, or do you think this will also be of interest to new students?
Mm-hmm. It's a good question. I think it will be both. I think the target for the grant is entry-level employees plus, say, supervisory employees. So that level could very well apply to folks coming out of high school, as well as people, early career changers, people coming from the military back into the workforce, or perhaps people that live in areas where the manufacturing base has gone offshore, and there's not a lot of hope in the near future for it returning to a manufacturing base, and now they need to be trained, say, in warehousing or transportation skills, moving products from the ports into the local region and managing the inventory, that type of thing. So yeah, but both adults and I believe high school graduates would be a target audience.
What kind of input have you had from the hiring company, from the companies that will be hiring these people?
Mm-hmm. Yes, many companies were interviewed in support of developing of the grant. Companies like UPS and shippers, a mix of shippers and carriers, and a lot of workforce programs in the states were interviewed, and they all agreed that it would be nice if there was a common language, a common basic training that could be applied. And the grant, part of the justification was that through these interviews with companies, it was felt that within the next 2.5 years in 7 target states, 3,200 new jobs could be created. That there's currently basically a dearth of people to fill them.
Give me your view about how professional education and training in the logistics area has changed over the past 10 or 15 years, and how the Logistics and Supply Chain Institute is responding to that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. 10 or 15 years ago, we would have, say, 120 people in a class for 4 days, and it would be pure lecture. There'd be different lecturers come in with different points of view, but there would be no case study, there'd be no online component, so it would basically be a 4-day lecture with students sitting in the classroom. That's just not acceptable in today's market. In today's market, I think the word I would use is the successful programs are hybrid programs, where students can learn some at their own pace, the basics of a topic, whether it's inventory management or customer service operations or whatever, learn at their own pace in an effective manner. They're not going to have 100% understanding of the material through the basics, so they may have some questions that they want to bring to instructors. So we see coupling the online basics with, say, weekly discussions, facilitated discussions with instructors, where they can do Q&A sessions before coming to a live in-class session. And then the live in-class session is focused more on the difficult concepts, integrating concepts, case studies, defining projects, and often having field trips, to distribution centers or transportation terminals, that type of thing. So the key's kind of hybrid, much smaller classes. I think we like to target now more 30 students per class, where instructors can work with smaller groups and set up case studies and projects that the students then carry from class to class.
And are most employers sponsoring their employees to take this kind of training?
Yes, it's interesting. There's a mix. We're seeing where it may have used to have been primarily large companies sending students to courses. Now it's a mix. I almost think we see more smaller companies sending students, and a number of individuals. I congratulate those individuals. In every course, we have a few individuals who are paying their own way through the courses. They're looking to change careers, enhance their skills, and that type of thing. So it's really a mix. We also do probably more students coming through custom programs than the public courses, and those custom courses tend to be the bigger companies. Companies like Coca-Cola may have a supply chain innovation program that's tailored to their needs, taking elements of the public program, but then also building in some soft skills training.
Right. Do you think that global companies have particular challenges in terms of finding the skills that they need in the logistics area?
Yes, and there are some areas in particular that are very difficult. You mentioned the word global. Global trade management is a very difficult skill to find individuals for, considering the nuances of the various regulations with customs and tax and trade differentials, that type of thing. That area is very hard to find people, because it's not an easy skill set. So global companies have challenges with that. And for many years we've seen challenges in finding strategic sourcing personnel. Now that sourcing is so much of it is offshore, you have to have a special individual who can deal with minor things such as time differentials, as well as language differentials and different customs in doing business from country to country.
Are there any particular issues that the members of the Supply Chain and Logistics Institute are asking you to look into or research?
I'd say probably the biggest thing right now is issues with e-commerce and multi-channel distribution. Companies that may have traditionally been a wholesaler or a manufacturer, now they've dabbled in e-commerce for a number of years, and now it's grown to a point that their operations, which may have been set up for wholesale and manufacturing, are not efficient for e-commerce operations. So they're approaching us with, okay, how do we reconfigure our distribution centers to support multi-channel? How do we change our distribution network in supply chain network to deal with multi-channel? Should we have dedicated e-commerce facilities, or should we have multi-channel facilities? Those type of things, and where should the locations be, etc.
So what do you see over the next decade in terms of professional education? Where do you see it going?
I see more hybrid, as I mentioned before, the mix of online training for the basics. Students really enjoy the networking part of professional education. So I think we're going to have to be more efficient and effective in getting the basics done in as lowest cost model as possible. But then when we bring students together in the classroom environment or a conference or lecture environment, leveraging their knowledge. Every student comes from a different company with a different background, and they like to talk in the courses and work together and projects and stuff. So I think we need to build in more of that. And one of the things that we're hoping to do is have more concurrent courses, where perhaps we're doing a procurement course at the same time as a logistics course, but then have some time where the individuals from both groups, which may not talk with each other much, can come together in the evenings or during the day in joint projects and share learnings. We're very lucky here at Georgia Tech to be located in the center of a city with the world's busiest airport and great conference facilities. So we see our opportunity as being bringing people together as a differentiator, bringing them together and sharing information. And another interesting thing in the future, and we're seeing it now, is globally, companies in other countries are turning to the universities in the United States for training. So we've established centers in Panama, Costa Rica, Mexico, Singapore, and France, and do courses there. Plus we do custom courses elsewhere, and it's really amazing the amount of demand that we have around the globe for supply chain courses. And I think we'll continue to see the rest of the world growing in this space, perhaps maybe more rapidly in the short term than the U.S.
Very interesting. Great information. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
I've been speaking with Tim Brown of the Georgia Tech Supply Chain and Logistics Institute. Thank you for watching.